Dan, can we talk about your life as a daydreamer? I understand that daydreaming is very important to your creative process. What's daydreaming like for you when you were a kid, and what is it like for you now?
I don't know. I always thought, you grow up and you get in trouble for daydreaming and things like that. But sometimes you just can't help but stare outside the window and let your mind go. And I remember as a kid, I don't know if you do it, you just do it. Everyone daydreams until they're told not to, I think. And I think I wish we get nourished that more, and I think there's a lot that could be harnessed through that. I think that was always maybe a joke or a thought that maybe I could become a professional daydreamer and things like that. But I think now, in terms of like how I apply it, I apply it as a way to maybe my own way of meditating, or my own way of trying to find solutions and ideas, and maybe my own way of being in the moment or in the present. So I find daydreaming a really useful tool for me in terms of creating. I know it sounds kind of weird or stupid, but it's like it helps if I'm having like if I see or hear things, and it could lead to different things. So I could just kind of tune out, and focus on that specific thought or that specific noise or sound, and it could take me, to different places. I don't want to sound so like weird, but it's relaxing. Yeah.
Where have you done some of your best daydreaming? Can you do it, let's say, at a coffee shop?
You could do it. I think yeah. I think you could do it anywhere. You could do it, preferably not while you're driving, but if you're just sitting outside, sitting in a park, sitting by yourself, that you just take a moment and you think of thoughts, think of ideas, and let that kind of permeate and blossom. It could be even the thought of Hawaii, just the word Hawaii. Then it starts. Then you could focus on the sound of it, the vowels, and what that takes you. There's just different connections that you can make. So then it could take you to coffee, to pineapple, to different things, and then your brain is visualizing these images, and then I think once you kind of get used to doing that, for me, I do it just because I get lost in thought, because something might be in my head, and then it takes me somewhere, and I find that useful.
And is daydreaming the same as meditation, or they're different?
They're probably in the same world, and it's linguistics of it. If you are meditating and focusing, but I think daydreaming is cool, is because you could set ideas, you could set things in your head, and you could try to implement those if you could, remember it. I guess it's the opposite when you dream at night, right? When you're dreaming at night and when you have all these dreams that pop up of things, all of a sudden you might have a dream like, hey, why is that guy in my third grade class in my dream? It just pops up, right? And then when you're daydreaming, you're like the same thing. It's like, oh, but it seems like you're conscious of that. I think that opens up your creative space to accept ideas, and they go, oh, like when I get stuck writing, I guess that's why people, hey, you go for a walk, you go this, how does the ending really work? How do these subplots come together? How does that? And then people always say, they have ideas in the shower, these things, these moments, I think those are important, having those moments. I think it starts with a little bit of daydreaming, because you once you focus too much, it's like you're not seeing the possibilities, what that's like behind you or beside you. You're so narrow. You're narrowed into this script, this story. But if you let go and start thinking about the cup that's on the table of your character and how that cup reminds you of your grandmother's cup, and then the grandma when she was born here, and then that leads to this. Oh, she used to love this flower that was purple. Maybe that flower ends up somehow back in your script somehow. You just never know, you know. So it's making associations with things that sometimes don't connect immediately. So I think that's what helps me. So I think that's a great tool, especially writing. But then there's all these things, you have to find a thread. Otherwise, they just become images. With story, you need that thread. So that's the other thing. Now is to pull all that dreaming together and have it structured. And that's the battle of screenwriting.
Did you used to get in trouble in school for daydreaming with teachers?
I might have got a U in use of time wisely, I think. So, if the unsatisfactory thing. So I think that, I might have gotten that. But I always try to avoid getting in trouble. But, doesn't mean you can't be sneaky and daydream while no one's looking. So, yeah.
If you were going to teach a class on daydreaming, let's suppose, the idea of daydreaming has changed and now it's more reinforced. Let's suppose they take from different people, Einstein, different, and you put it in together into a course. What would day one be like in your daydreaming course?
Yeah, day one, I would, just introduce the thought of it and talk about what we would do during this term, and kind of structure it and go and tell folks that what is the goal? What's our goal with this? There is science, there is technology, there's things, but there's also this thing called mystery. So and that's where the beauty of new innovation comes from, I think. So I would first talk about get everyone's opinion what daydreaming is. There isn't a specific answer, it's how you feel. But then talk about how we are just so bombarded by visuals and especially nowadays and not understanding what the visual language is. Why do we feel certain things when we see certain type of imagery? Maybe get on the same page and say the first third of our course would be understanding of visual language. What does that mean when we drive down Sunset Boulevard? Why do all these colors? What does yellow and purple do to us versus gray and pink and these things? So that helps. So then when you're able to understand that, then maybe you could start to visualize. And that's part of daydreaming. Daydreaming, you want to be a filmmaker. What does that entail? I didn't know, but it definitely entailed getting off the couch. Let me start with that. And then definitely entailed maybe I should go to Half Price Books and buy a book. Maybe what's the story? You think about story, and then you think about themes, and then that could lead somewhere. So yeah, well, first third of class course, talk about visualization. How do we interpret visual language? Second third is to apply that to let's work on our thoughts and our way to daydream and recollect those things and how that could help and how long. Could you do it in 30 seconds, 30 minutes, whatever? And then the last third of the course would just to be to understand what we did, what's the goal of it, and was it successful? How could we use this in future applications of creative work? That's what maybe the first class would be like.
You mentioned mystery. Does mystery always does mystery always have to be, let's say, solving a crime or figuring something out in science? Could it also be figuring out a character? It doesn't even have to be some criminal or scientific element. Mm-hmm. It's just figuring out who they are, why they did something, why they said something.
Exactly, I think so. It encompasses so much, and I think it's like, you know, I think that's what's fantastic about it, because it incorporates the unknown and incorporates things that we maybe have on the tip of our tongue, and we want to explore it and understand it. We want to solve things. We're driven by mystery. That takes us to new places. I think that's what's really neat and dynamic of understanding how to use mystery in your own work, to tell stories, to create suspense, to you know, and then to have resolution, because we need, I think us humans, we need closure and understanding, but we also don't need to be handheld, at least for stories. Some folks might, but for me as a storyteller, I always think the audience is definitely smarter than me, and you don't want to treat them too like hand-holding everything. So you want to leave things to interpretation, but I also don't want to be so abstract that no one understands what the story is about, you know? So those are two different things I'm battling with right now, and mystery is a good way to, you know, to keep me inspired and you know, work my way through life, trying to figure things out.
What's an example of a handheld story from a writer versus something that's too abstract?
Okay, I guess probably David Lynch is there. And a handhold would be more of, 2 + 2 = 4. That boy meets girl, they fall in love, versus boy meets girl, 4 other things could happen, things like that. So you as the storyteller, I always think it's like being a chef, right? We have these ingredients, and the way you use it, where it's, where it hits you, it's how you use these elements of story to do it. Do you want to handhold someone from the end and go, this person is definitely the killer, or this person is definitely the bad guy who planted this seed, who's trying to get them to break up and remarry her, or things like that. So it's up to each chef, and the audience is so vast and diverse. Like, a lot of people are definitely not gonna like some of the dishes I cook, because it's not their flavor profile. But does that mean you could deny the execution of it or the craft of it? It's like if you don't like country music, but you like, indie rock. You cannot deny Johnny Cash was a skilled and talented musician. It's just a taste. So that's what happens, I think, in terms of how you tell stories. And hand-holding is a great device. But for me, as a chef, I don't want to add too much salt, kind of like as things goes. I'll leave it to the audience a little bit more to piece the flavors together.
Do you think that people look at daydreaming in a positive way?
That's a tricky question. I was going to say yes, but then I'm going to say no, because everyone will be talking about it more. And how is that? Because it has more of a negative connotation, because it means you don't get anything done. Maybe if we rewrite that narrative in terms of daydreaming as a step to execution into work, where you're daydreaming of being making great leather purses, then that happened. Where you're daydreaming of going to the space. These things, it starts with some sort of idea planted in a world that seems so far away. But if you set it and you do the work, it could be attainable. I'm not saying it always can happen, but at least it gives you hope that an idea can be reached, or tried for. So I think if you ask parents, maybe they don't think it's a good thing if their kids are always daydreaming. But I hope it changes, because I love that word. I love the word dream. It's that means an idea is thought out of, and it could be possible. But we have to sometimes enjoy that process of making it possible than the result of that dream. So that's the tricky part.
How does daydreaming help us reach our goals?
Daydreaming, it helps you start with an idea. It helps you be open. And I think that is in itself a success. If you are able to open and accept new ideas and think of things that are possible, that helps. Because we need goals. How does daydream get us there? It gives us a shovel. It gives us a tool. It gives us things that we maybe feel like we can't accomplish, and we might make an excuse. Hey, I can't get this degree because I don't have money. But you could start by daydreaming. And if that daydream makes you become obsessive, makes you become passionate, makes you become driven, then that's helpful. But if that daydream turns into a nightmare, then it could lead you to another daydream. So that's where I think it's useful, because there's many chances, many doors out there where that can open. Daydreaming allows you to hop around, and then when you want to sit on something, then that sets a path to your goals.
Do you ever give yourself a limit, though, for daydreaming? Like, okay, I've daydreamed at least an hour today, and I think I've reached my limit. Now I'm going to get back to something that's more linear.
Yeah. No, I don't think I do it subconsciously. I think it happens. That's why I think it's a little bit different than meditation, because you designate a certain time. Maybe I do it so much that I don't even know. I could be washing the dishes, and then though I'm washing the dishes and getting it done, I just went into Ethiopia, and the Ethiopia just opened up this new type of bread that I want to discover while I'm washing dishes. It's so. I don't think you could do it enough. Maybe I'll go there. I'll go the opposite. I was like, until it hinders your goal, I think you need to keep exercising that muscle, just like walking or breathing or doing things. And if it helps you reach goals, then it's useful. If it doesn't, that means it's an excuse, and that's a fine line, I think, to walk. So, and that's the practice, and that's going to be everyone's journey to go. Hey, I've been daydreaming. That's why I'm not getting anywhere. I've been daydreaming. Oh, that's why I'm here. So it's that half glass half full, half empty kind of thing. So it's going to be up to each individual to kind of figure out if it's for them, or if they're doing it too much.